Hi, guys. Will Palanchik, Jessica Charman here with you. This is Crown Corner reunited because it's been a couple of weeks since not only we've done an episode because of the Wednesday games, but it's been a while since we've been together. What's going on, Jess? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Will. Glad to be back on Crown Corner. It was nice to see people saying that they missed us, so we had to do everyone a favor and come back in for a great episode. And mixed feelings off of the two
Right.
games we've had since.
Yeah, I wish we had better news to talk about off of the weekend because Wednesday was so great and encouraging against New York, and then Sunday night against Orlando City, a disappointing result nonetheless, 2-1 at the hands of Orlando City. We can go in reverse order, Jess. Obviously, what happened on Sunday really doesn't happen without kind of what happened on Wednesday, but the fact that that game was so important and the fact that we came out in that first half somewhat a little bit I don't want to say lackadaisical, but lacking the energy and the urgency. I felt like it was very much something that was very disappointing and probably the most disappointing part of that game.
Yeah, I think it was a tough one because it felt like we didn't approach it with the same urgency, maybe as we had in the second half, particularly against NYCFC. And we had seen how successful that second half could be. And we would have liked to have seen more of that, particularly at home. And I think that's where it becomes the most frustrating because when you're playing at home and you've got a fan base behind you, you really want to make sure that you're giving them something to cheer about and that you're not playing fearful. There's no reason to play fearful. We've got 8 wins at home. It's a fantastic record. And I think that maybe we just didn't come into it with the right preparation in terms mentally, which is understandable. You've just had a game Wednesday. It's an emotional roller coaster, but I think it just left a little bit to be sort of wished for differently. And I think when we look back at this one, it's another one along with the games that we've talked about in the past that we're probably going to wish that we had back, depending on where we end up finishing in the league.
You can say the first game against Toronto or against Orlando rather was one of those contests because I do feel like that was one where even though Orlando scored the first two, we were very much a live dog in that one. And I'm trying to figure out if Orlando was doing anything in particular defensively to help stop penetration, especially on the wings. I know that they were trying to cut off both what the left side and the right side were doing there with both Vargas and Gaines. But did you notice anything complex or complicated with the way that they were defending us?
Not really. I think that they weren't playing as high, maybe as we had expected them to do, but we had mentioned that Orlando City plays more tentative away from home. They don't play as high, so there wasn't as much space in and behind as there was in the opposite fixture. I think that we had a couple of opportunities. We've got to remember that Vargas hit the post, and we saw how they could be undone with the Kamil Jozwiak assist for Mackenzie Gaines when we moved the ball quickly. And there were some shaky moments for the Orlando City back line, but I don't think we just pressed them hard enough to force the errors, to force the turnovers, to make them feel shaky. It just felt like a very comfortable match from them. And then when you look at the defense, and I think it's interesting you brought up the last time we played Orlando City. And unfortunately, when you think back to these games against Orlando City, it feels like the goals have been preventable. Obviously we know about the corner kick goal. We're not going to go back into that because we don't want to relive that one. But,
No, thank you.
Anton Walkes has put his hands up about the error that he made in the slip. But, from a goalkeeper's perspective, I had other areas that I was concerned about, almost like other defensive players had given up on the play when Kalina made the first save and we didn't really have anyone challenging for the rebound. And then the first one was a little bit of ball watching. And I think it was Facundo Torres who found himself in a lot of space throughout the match. And that was the difference between us against NYCFC. Against NYCFC, it felt like we had defensive man marking. We were able to keep players silent. Torres found himself in space all game against Orlando City, and you can't allow quality players that have hurt you before to have that much space to play make.
Yeah, the NYCFC game not only included great man marking in the second half, but the use of the high press, and I think that was really what got us not only the first goal, but also that victory. Just because of the fact that I do feel like you saw a team that's usually pretty solid at the back, very much undone by just a little bit of extra pressure. I know that we tried to do that a little bit against Orlando. It wasn't as effective against New York, but I don't feel like we sustained it enough like we did against NYCFC.
At times, I feel like there were moments where we would do it for a little while and then we were tired. And that's understandable with the quick turnover. Legs are a little bit fatigued. We kept the same starting lineup. So there were players that had a lot of minutes underneath them. But I think when you do a high press, the whole team has to be on the same page, right? Because there's no point Karas Federski step into the goalkeeper if those in and behind him aren't going to press as well, because otherwise he's making that leg work but then there's an easy pass free. And I think that was some of the issues in the game on Sunday. It felt like not everyone was necessarily on the same page. When I step, I need you behind me to step as well, which meant that it became a very exhausting match because they were pressing to no reward. But when we did press, there was success, and we saw that with the Cohen Vargas shot that hit the crossbar, hit the side netting, those kind of things. And I just feel like Orlando City managed their game well. They took the opportunities when we gave them to them, but it was definitely a match where we're going to look back on it and think that was 3 points that should have been ours.
Christian Latanzio's latest midfield experiment has involved our next guest, which is Brandt Bronico, coming up here in just a moment. But I wanted to get your thoughts on how tactically he's tried to make this change, bringing in Derek Jones to play a holding midfield, almost kind of like a double pivot with him and Brandt Bronico, sending Bronico a little bit more forward than he has been in previous matches. It helped get him his first goal with Charlotte FC last Wednesday against New York, and he had a very decent chance at goal as well in stoppage time against Orlando. I know this is probably a temporary fix until they get Nuno Santos' visa sorted out. But what have you thought about the way that Lattanzio has approached that part of the midfield so far?
Well, firstly, I was going to mention that opportunity as well. I thought Brandt Bronico had that one so close, and he's in and around those areas. He's got a great strike of the ball. He had another one where he actually scuffed his shot that he would have wanted back. And I think that Brandt Bronico has unleashed with this positioning of Derek Jones, another area of his game that not everyone knew he had. We understand Brandt as an accomplished six. We know that he's leading the team in tackles, interceptions, presses, those kind of things, because he does such a good job as a six. But I'm enjoying seeing him higher up the pitch and seeing him unlock areas of space and take opportunities. But none of that happens without Derek Jones. And I loved Lattanzio's press conference prior to the Orlando City game that talked about Derek Jones' composure and those kind of characteristics that he brings to the game. And that's important. When you lose Brandt Bronico pushing up the pitch, who we know is one of those composed players that's very confident in possession, you need someone to replace him that's got those attributes. And I think Derek Jones has that and has played very well in the 2 games that he had. And it may be a temporary switch. Like we say, obviously, Nuno Santos, we want him to be able to come in and make a difference and be that playmaker. But right now, I really quite like that combination of Quinn McNeil, Brandt Bronico, and DJ. And Quinn had a great game. I think the one reason he was taken off was because he looked fatigued and he had picked up that yellow card, which, when you're playing in a midfield position, you don't want to be playing on a yellow card. It was getting a little scrappy in there.
It was the second straight game that McNeil had a yellow card early in that contest, so very much made a lot of sense to bring Bender on for him. We'll get a little bit more into some of the different personnel situations that are going on with Charlotte FC in just a moment, but had an opportunity to catch up with a man who had himself a pretty big moment last week, the mayor's moment, we called it. Brandt Bronico here on Crown Corner. In terms of everything going on, I know the last time we saw the team, it was an unfortunate result for us against Orlando City. What have you guys been doing over the course of training to start this week to try and put that in the past and get ready for a very important matchup Saturday against Toronto?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of, focus on the things that we can fix and also focus on the things that we do well and just trying to push those factors. And also just staying together as a team, I guess in moments that you have a lot of ups and downs as a team and as players, as individuals, but it's important that all the guys stay together and we stay resilient, into achieving our goals. We're still very much in the playoff race. So, we take it one game at a time and Toronto is our next opponent that we're looking to get 3 points against.
So Christian Lattanzio said over the course of the last week or so that he put some more trust in you to try and go a little bit more forward with DJ on the pitch at the same time as you. What was that process like for you to kind of, step into a different kind of role with yourself in the midfield right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of maybe bringing out the inner collegiate Brandt when I did play that attacking position in the midfield and tried to create and get the ball forward more, getting more in more advanced positions. I mean, he approached me on the plane after we played LAFC, and he said, "Hey, I think we might want to push you a little more forward and put DJ at the 6." And I said, "That's fine. Like, I'll do whatever the team needs, wherever you need me. Like, that's what I'm always willing to do it." And it kind of maybe it paid off against New York City. And I guess I technically got credited with like a hockey assist against Orlando. So, a goal and one secondary assist in the 2 games that I've played, in a more advanced position is not a bad start. Obviously, I'd like that shot back at the end, maybe put it a little lower to tie the game. But that's part of it. Getting in those positions is important, and setting yourselves up to create chances to score goals.
I wasn't going to bring up the last chance against
It's okay.
Orlando. Actually, there is one. You mentioned the secondary assist. The one with Shinyashiki where he made the back post run that you set up for Yordi Reyna. I believe that was Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken. Miami. That's right. Inter Miami. That's the one where I felt like, you know what? Brandt does have some ability to kind of go forward and do a little bit more on the attack. How much of that do you feel like kind of put a bug in Christian's ear to be like, hey, maybe this is something that can work?
Yeah, I mean, Christian, he's a very smart coach. He's a great coach. He's a fantastic guy, and I really enjoy working with Christian because, I think I can speak for the whole team when I say we can feel his belief in us as individuals and as a group. And I think he sees that potential in me, and he was willing to trust me not only in the 6 but also in the 8. So he sees things that sometimes I don't even really see in myself. And I'm extremely grateful for Lattanzio.
So let's talk about the goal against New York. What do you remember seeing? And just obviously from the standpoint of where you're sitting from the celebration standpoint, I know that kind of in the aftermath of it, you kind of wanted to downplay it a little bit, but now that you've had a little opportunity to think about it, what is it like kind of going back to that moment that we saw from you last Wednesday night?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I feel like everything kind of just set up perfectly between, Jóźwiak winning the ball back, which is like, as a holding mid, you can appreciate that, to getting the ball to Fuchs, who played a great ball to Carroll, who had, a sweet, back flick to me. I just saw some open space and ran into it, and Carroll found it. And, I just kind of volleyed it back post and pulled out my inner Cam Newton, if you will, for the celebration. But it was a very special moment for me, scoring my first goal for a club that means so much to me.
I have to say the Carroll backflip setup that was something of the stuff of legends, and I think that just characterizes just his ingenuity and his creativity with the ball. I don't know if we've had an assist quite like that one so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, Carroll, he's a technical player. He's a creative player, and he's not afraid to try things on the field, which you need that courage, especially out of your DPs. But I was grateful that he saw me, and grateful that I scored.
I especially enjoyed the homage to Cam Newton because that obviously means a lot to a lot of people here in this city. And I want to know kind of the inspiration behind this, because I think he was kind of that first person to bring superstardom to Charlotte. Obviously, we had the Hornets in the 90s with, LJ and Zoe, and Glenn Rice had that one great All-Star game. But when it comes to guys who really put Charlotte on the map, that was Cam. How much of that did you kind of channel with the Superman routine that you did in that contest on Wednesday night against New York?
Yeah, I mean, so when I was in college, Cam was like the talk of the town, and he was an incredible player, incredible athlete. And he was definitely a guy that I looked up to when I would, watch Panthers games. And it was like, he's gone now. And I kind of wanted to pay tribute to him, because what I really appreciated about Cam was that, he wasn't afraid to be himself, no matter what anybody would say, in the good and the bad times. And he was also an athlete that a lot of people in this city looked up to as well. So, just to kind of pay homage to Cam and let him know that there's people and athletes in this city that still appreciate him and everything he did for Charlotte.
Brad, I know that there have been a couple of people who have been added to the team since we last spoke to you, a couple of guys who we might see here coming up this weekend, depending on how the visas work out, with both Nathan Byrne, Adilson Malanda, who was in the 20 last weekend for you guys, as well as Nuno Santos. What have each of those guys individually brought to this team since they've been added here at the secondary transfer window deadline?
Yeah, I think they brought, more ability, like kind of like a breath of fresh air, really, they all seem like super guys and great players on the field that I believe will really help our team advance, in the direction we want to go by winning more games. So we're grateful to have them, and we can't wait till they can all get out on the field for us.
Christian Latanzio keeps calling this a young team, and as somebody who's gone through an MLS season like you have, and knowing what it means to kind of get into the playoffs and those kinds of things, what kind of role have you taken on here down the stretch to kind of impart on some of these younger guys that, hey, these games all feel like finals right now from here on out?
Yeah, I mean, we do. I mean, we've had, rookies start in the midfield, countless times. And they've done well. The rookies have done well. Ben and Quinn have done great for us. But at the same time, you do need experience when you get into these moments. But I've kind of just tried to take them under my wing and give them that advice of just being, hey guys, just play your game. Don't be intimidated. Don't be nervous. Like, I'm here to support you, no matter what. In the good and the bad. And let's go out and let's try and dominate the game. Let's try and dominate the midfield. And ultimately, we want to win the game. It doesn't always pay off for us, but when we go out there and do your best, and that's really all we can ask, and believing in each other.
I know you guys felt like you kind of let one get away against Toronto in their building. What does it mean to have them back at our place coming up this weekend with obviously all the opportunities still in front of this club?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely owe them one after that game. We want to start off on the front foot. We need to put, a complete game together. I feel like our last two games, we started off a little slower in the first half. And then we're really, firing in the second half. So, we need to play full 90 like we played the second half of the last two games. And Toronto, we have another great opportunity to play another opponent in our house. And we're looking forward to it, and we can't wait to feel the fans behind us.
Is there anything particular that you would attribute the slow start to, or is it just kind of just circumstantial? These things happen kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we just need to get higher up the field from the start. Maybe we're a little too conservative when we defend off the start, just because we're afraid of maybe conceding too early. But I think we just need to get in their face and impose ourselves on them from the very first whistle.
So we'll get into some more fun questions now. I have to ask you about the mullet. Whose idea was it, and how much longer do we have to see it?
So it was my idea. Luckily, like, my wife said it's fine. So
I was going to ask you how she felt about it.
Yeah. She's definitely not head over heels about it, but I had worse haircuts in college. That's for sure. But I've been trying to grow it out for like 2 months now, and I finally just kind of shaved the sides a little bit. Sorry, the camera's backwards. There we go. I can't get the camera. Whatever. I tried to shave the sides a little bit, to put it more drastic, so you can obviously see it more.
Yeah.
But
I have to say it's the shaved sides. It's growing on me a little bit. Yeah. I have to say I wasn't a fan at the beginning of it, but now it's starting to have more definition to it. I couldn't pull that off. I'm sorry, I couldn't pull that off.
I don't know if I'm pulling it off either, but I'm just doing it. And hopefully it'll be ready, fully in time for playoffs.
That's kind of what we're hoping for there. What is a guilty pleasure TV show? This is from Jess. What's a guilty pleasure TV show that you watch that people would be surprised that you watched?
Guilty pleasure. I mean, I think, I always just cling to The Office.
Okay.
That's my favorite show. If I need a pick me up or something to, I guess make me laugh, I always go back to The Office.
Nothing in the reality TV spectrum for you, or no?
No, nothing in the reality TV.
No Love Island, no Bachelor, Bachelorette, anything like that.
No, my wife, she started watching Love Island, and I just can't get into it. I'm just not a huge fan of reality TV, I guess.
I got you. I actually started my fiance on The Bachelorette a couple of years ago, and she hates me for it because she's now addicted to it.
Yeah.
We also wanted to highlight Brant Bronico's first ever grind set party coming up this weekend at Pins Mechanical in Charlotte. You can register online, BrantBronico.com, where you can also find Brant's great gear that he is showcasing for us right now. He's got the 8-bit t-shirt on right now. Give folks more of information on what they can not only go and see at the party, but how they can get an opportunity to register and what they'll see coming up on Sunday evening.
Yeah, I mean, the party, it's August 28th, so this upcoming Sunday from 4 to 6 at Penn's Mechanical. We rented out a space in the back of the I guess, whatever, in the back of Penn's, just to, raise money for Beds for Kids, local Charlotte charity. You can go to BrantBronico.com and RSVP there. And, even if it's already full, you can still show up to Penn's and support the event. There's the 8-bit shirts, the Bronico party shirts. And now there's a new Bronigoat shirt that just came out. All the proceeds, part of the proceeds from those shirts all go to Beds for Kids as well. There's a donate button on my website as well if you want to donate directly to Beds for Kids. And I'm also auctioning off the jersey I scored my first ever goal in and the cleats I scored my first ever goal in. There's a link in my Instagram BB13 collection where you can click on that and part of the proceeds from those two pieces will also go to Beds for Kids. So we're looking to raise a lot of money, and your support would mean everything.
I am happy to see how high the proceeds have gotten from the jersey in particular. I think it was up over 3,000 at the time of this recording. I didn't put any bids on there. I tried. I tried.
Yeah,
that's a little out of my.
Honestly, I was surprised that it got up that high. Like I didn't really think it would get to 1,000, let alone 3,000. But
it's great.
I'm definitely grateful. There are people out there that did that.
Why Beds Mechanical? Why that charity?
Beds for Kids. It was it was a local charity that me and my marketing agency kind of chose just because it's around Charlotte. I think some people at Charlotte FC have done some things with them before as well. And also, when I always listen to like motivational speakers talk, and they always speak about how they grew up and where they came up from, and always like sharing beds and not having enough I guess like furniture to sleep on. And Beds for Kids, it tries to change that. It's not just beds they give; it's all sorts of furniture they give to low income families. So you're pretty much giving the kid a bed or like a futon or a chair. Anything that would help them sleep better at night.
Brant Bronico, Charlotte FC midfielder. Appreciate the time, man that we call the mayor. I'm still allowed to call you the mayor, right?
Hey, that's your nickname for me. It's kind of catching on. You started it, so you're the boss when it comes to that. You can call me the mayor or not call me. It's up to you.
Well, it's weird the way the call of the game came out. People thought it was Bear, and I'm like, no, it's the mayor because he's the mayor. So,
yeah.
What it is.
I like it, man. I like it.
Good luck this weekend. Get us 3 points, and I'll see you Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Will.
That's great stuff to hear from Brant Bronico, and good to know that the mullet is a wife approved. I'm still. I told him I liked it. Told him I liked it. I told him the shaved part is better on him. The fact that he shaved it and it's more defined now, at least it's a little bit more cleaned up.
I'm not gonna lie.
Mullet
I'm pretty glad Amelia needed to rest a little more and wasn't able to give me the time to interview him, because if we'd have got into the mullet talk with me on there, I don't know if I'd have been able to praise it as openly. Listen, everyone pulls off different looks. It just isn't for me. Just wait until Willie pulls off the mullet soon.
No, I could not do that. I really couldn't do that.
You've got to be a goal scorer to wear a mullet, don't you? You know what I mean?
Has a goal. He has a goal.
Exactly. That's why he can wear the mullet.
The one that you like of me is the Robin Thicke hair, where I have the hair standing up like I just had an electric shock. That's the one that's your favorite look, because you always love referencing that one.
Definitely a 1990s look.
So terrible. Before we get into this weekend against Toronto, I did want to ask you a little bit about some more of kind of the positional battles that are going on right now. Obviously, Nathan Byrne, we're still waiting on his visa appointment to get sorted out as well at right back. Right now, we've seen a pretty healthy rotation of Harrison Awful as well as Jalen Lindsey. Jalen's done actually pretty well over the last couple of weeks. But my question to you is, they brought Nathan Byrne here in the secondary transfer window, and I think they brought him over here to play. Do you feel like he inserts right in there when he gets everything sorted out and is able to get up to fitness?
Well, I don't think you bring in a fullback unless they see that as an area that they want someone to play, particularly moving them from the English Championship into MLS. Nathan Burns, a player that was playing week in, week out, so he wouldn't have made that jump unless he expected that he was going to be able to fight and compete fairly for a playing position. I think that the fact that he's had to go home, he's in England right now to get his visa sorted, means that once he's back in, you're going to expect to see him get a couple of weeks under training. We saw it with Cohen Vargas. They like to sort of get them ready to prepare, but at the same time, we're running out of game time. You know, we're in that part of the season where October 9th, the last game of, play, it's going to come around very fast. So maybe that will speed things up in terms of trying to get him in to have an impact, because it's no disrespect to Jalen or Harrison. I think they both have performed amicably when they've been on the pitch, but we're looking for something a little different, potentially a little bit more consistency and a little bit more of the dual package, having the defensive mindset, but also attacking and making sure that you can do both without sacrificing the other.
Our guy, Andre Shinyashiki, has been in the news recently. I know there was an article written about his lack of playing time, and I think it's something that both you and I have been asked about independently on a couple of occasions. What do you make of all this consternation surrounding our guy with the shimmy?
It's a tough one. I understand. Andre Shinyashiki has really won over people in Charlotte. And how can you not, with his charisma, with, the goals that he scored, the impact he had with the timing of those goals and the way that he's spoken on social media. He connects well with the fans, which immediately means that people want him to play, but he's in a very, very well sought after position. He plays either as an attacking winger or as a person up top. And the thing is, if we're going to play the 4-3-3 with Karas Swiderski up the top, it's going to be difficult to drop Karas Swiderski as your DP and your goal scoring leader. And as Lattanzio said, the wingers right now are doing very well. So it's one of those where he's just in a position that's very highly occupied. But I do think his time will come, as long as he keeps switched on, as long as he, keeps grinding hard in practice, because we forget that we don't see everything. We only see 90 minutes games. We see the matches. We see a little bit of media practices here and there if we can, but none of us see the full, week preparation. And Lattanzio is making decisions because of what he's seeing at practice as well. But I think that we saw Andre working on some fitness after the game, and he looked like he was fast. He looked like he was ready to go. And as long as he keeps that positive mindset and is ready to go when he gets his chance. But now there's a little bit of pressure on him. And as a player, you get that. I've been in that position where I've been the second choice. And then once you come on, it's like, wow, I really have to perform to show that I deserve the spot. So I'm hoping for Andre's sake, when he gets his chance, his moment, that he's able to prove that he belongs with more game time.
And I hate getting asked about these type of things because, then you start getting into arguments and you feel like you're saying bad things about people. And I don't want to do that about any of these players, because I think they all are deserving. And I think, each of the guys on this squad deserves to play, but you can only play 11 at a time. And I think it's a very difficult situation that Christian Lattanzio has in front of him. And it just means that we've gotten a lot more squad depth now, and players who were maybe given more favor earlier on in this season are having a tougher time going in there. And it's something that's going to be obviously something we address when Nuno Santos comes. And I'm honestly curious, not just from that standpoint, who the odd person out would be when Santos gets his visa sorted out, but what the formation has to be like, because I know in a 4-3-3, you're basically talking about two guys who are attacking midfielders, but I know you want Nuno to probably play more centrally as at least the truest thing in the truest sense of a number 10 as you possibly can, right?
Yeah, it's a tough dynamic, and I'm a big believer in, you don't want to change too much because of the individual personnel at times. Like, you don't want to switch an entire way a team plays, but at the same time, if a player is going to make that much of an impact, sometimes you have to. So there'll be a lot of tweaking, a lot of thinking in practice, seeing what works best for this side. But as you mentioned, Will, I think the squad depth is coming a long way. We started with no wingers. Now there's wingers that can't get minutes. There's wingers that are being dropped. Yordi Reyna's come off of the bench,
Right.
Things like that. People that 1 minute were guaranteed starters no longer are. And Lattanzio's been very open. He's going to pick who he wants to pick based on how they're performing on practice in the games. And so we have to trust that he's making those decisions.
Certainly do, and it's in advance of a very tough contest on Saturday. Last time we saw this Toronto team, I don't really know if we knew what we were going to see when the additions of Insigne and Bernadeschi came on, and boy, were they great when it came to that new player bounce, as you like to say, Jess. I know they've come back to earth a little bit. They're coming off a loss to Inter Miami last weekend, so there's definitely opportunity there, and we get them in our building, although we've dropped 2 in a row in our building for the first time all year. So I think we're very curious to see how we handle things. I know that from my standpoint, I would not count Charlotte FC out, but what are some things that Charlotte FC can bottle over their last couple of positive results that they can try to bring into this matchup to get a full 90 in and hopefully all 3 points?
I think handling of the star power. I think we left Insigne with a lot of space when he played against us and he was able to hurt us. I think that's going to be important. We need to handle him like we've handled other players, whether that's bringing in someone to man mark, bringing in other players to cut off the service. I think that you mentioned full 90 performance. That's going to be huge because we can't put together a good 45 and then a bad 45 like LA or against Toronto. You can't have a horrible first 45 and then make up for it in the second. So I think focus is going to be key. And, I understand that fans are a little frustrated. There was a bit of a different atmosphere at Bank of America. I think you mentioned it on the broadcast, Will. Everyone was a bit on edge, and it's understandable. We're at this game time where it's so important. And I think we've just got to try and create that atmosphere that's positive at all times, which I know can be difficult. Fans pay for tickets. They can act however they want. But I think that making sure that everyone comes into it and the players give something to the crowd that gets them on their feet right away, whether it's a big first tackle, whether it's a breakaway, whether it's a shot on target. We need one of those moments early on to set the tone for the game, because I think with Orlando, the biggest issue was it was just so slow to get started that everyone started to get nervous. And the longer it stayed at 0-0, even me on the broadcast, it just felt very anxious, and I think
tight.
It
was very tight.
Everyone was feeling each other out. And I think instead, we don't want to be feeling out the opposition when we're playing at home. We need to be going in there with a purpose, with an understanding, with intensity, and with a deliberate game plan out there. And I think if the fans can see there's a deliberate game plan and intensity, then the fans are going to feed off that. And I think that's going to be key to creating that fortress or reinstalling that fortress of Bank of America, because we cannot afford to drop 3 in a row at home, like you said.
And listening to Lattanzio after the game, that's something he talked about, and he was about as animated as he has been after a contest. Like he was more mad about that contest than either of the 2 lopsided performances against LAFC and Toronto, because he knew that they had this game in the grasp. A lot of things were under their control. Like you said, he wants to play a style where they are the team dictating the terms, and it didn't seem like either team really was. And if there was, it was Orlando, at least during that first part of the game. So we definitely need to dictate the terms in this one at the start on Saturday against Toronto.
We do. We also need a good officiating staff that doesn't spoil the match, because honestly, we're not going to dig deep in it. People will know what I'm talking about if they were watching the game. But I just think that had a big impact on the mood of the stadium, on the mood of the players as well. And we don't like that being a talking point. But unfortunately,
it had an impact on your eardrums too, because I got a little angry at one.
They're still ringing.
I apologize. We're on the air at 6:30 on Saturday. Going to be a lot of fun. We want to see all of you guys there and have an opportunity to really get the bank rocking, as we only have 4 more opportunities to do that here at Bank of America Stadium this upcoming season, or this for the rest of this season, with 7 matches to go. For Jess, I'm Will. We'll talk to you on the Charlotte FC Radio Network, and thanks so much for watching and listening to Crown Corner.